Hey everyone, and welcome here to the Work Smarter Not Harder Dojo with me, Tony Harmer, aka the Design Ninja. And this is the place where you can hone your ninja skills with all of your favorite Creative Cloud desktop and mobile apps. So in this movie, what we're going to be looking at is creating this fan of cards, but it's just from a single vector shape. And it's actually used as one of the introductory screens in one of my lynda.com courses on the Illustrator CC 2017 and 2018 Essentials. So just a single object like so, making all these cards. And you're going to see exactly how that happens. So let's get started. Here are some shapes I've been drawing already. You can see it's just rectangles here. One I've tilted around to about 30 degrees in that sort of region. A couple of ellipses and a thin rectangle there. I'm going to select the first rectangle here at the top because I haven't finished building the shapes together. I'm just going to hold down the Alt key or Option key and drag that downwards. Smart Guide's there showing me that that's still aligned, so I don't need to hold down any other key there. And then I'll select the two objects just out on the side here, tap O on my keyboard to access the reflect tool, and then come across and find the center mark of any one of these shapes. Doesn't matter which one really. The Smart Guide's again helping me out with that. Very, very useful thing to have. I'll hold down Alt or Option and click, and that does two things. It places a transformation point and also brings up the reflect dialog. And this is set up exactly the way I want it to be. It's to reflect vertically there. So I'm going to hold down Alt or Option and hit return. And that's exactly the same as hitting copy down in the bottom corner there. Okay, so now they're all copied across. I'll select everything here and I'm just going to tap X because at the moment my stroke is in front here and I want to bring the fill to the front, so I'll swap that out like so and then hit the slash key, and that just takes away the fill there. You can see now it's got no fill and a black stroke. So I'll hold down Shift and tap M, that gets me the shape builder tool, and I'm going to hold down Alt or Option, that takes it into remove mode, subtract mode, and Shift, which takes it into area mode, which means I can drag across like so and it will get rid of everything in that area. Okay, I'm going to do the same again here, so Alt and Shift together and drag across, watching the feedback really to make sure I'm getting the right stuff there. Similar thing here on this side and then just down at the bottom. And then all I need to do is just with the Alt or Option key held down is just drag down across these shapes here. And there you go. Got the pen shape just by subtracting those other shapes from it. So I'll do Command 0 here, Control 0 of course on Windows, just to view the whole of the artboard area. And it's time to start modeling this. So I'm going to choose a yellow fill color for the actual pen just here. So let's just make sure that's applying properly here. So try that again. So there we go. There's the yellow. It's a bit too bright, so I'm going to go to the color guide. Okay, and I'm just going to choose one of these lighter colors here. I'll get this set to shades and tints. Just double click there. Brilliant. And now I'm going to change the stroke. Let's zoom in on that actually while I do that. So I'll go to the stroke here. I'm going to make that the brighter yellow. I'm going to dial that up to about 5 points. And all I've done is clicked inside the field there and just using the arrow keys on my keyboard to do that. And then set the stroke attribute to be on the inside of the shape like so. Great stuff. So now I'm going to add an additional fill to this. Now I can go to the appearance panel, okay, and click down at the bottom here to add another fill. But what I'm actually going to do is hold down Command. If I was on Windows, I'd hold down Control and hit the slash key like so. You can see, there you go, brand new fill generated. Now I'm going to drag that down to the bottom of the stack here. And I'll change the color of this. Okay, so I've got a red color just here. So I've applied that like so. And then with that still highlighted, and it's really important that you do keep that highlighted, okay, because it's that particular attribute we're targeting. I'm going to change this to an elliptical fill. So I'll go convert to shape and choose ellipse here. Okay, I'm going to make this an absolute measurement, and I'm going to make this, I think about 198. 198 is what I did this for originally, just there. Of course, yours will vary depending on what you've drawn and how big you've drawn it, of course. Okay, so now I've done that. Whoops, I brought that one up to 205 accidentally, so let me just bring that down to 198, and similarly just there. So let's hit OK with that. I'm also going to apply an inner glow to it, so that's got a bit of depth. So effect and stylize and inner glow. Okay, and this is going to be multiply, so it needs to be a dark color here. I'll just choose a dark color there. If I just drag that in a bit more. Okay, like so, and I'll make the opacity about 30% and quite a big blur on it. So maybe let's try 35 on there. Have a look at that. That's nice. It's got sort of a warm effect to the inside. I like that. I think that's really good. So I now need another copy of that fill. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that highlighted and click the new icon at the bottom here, and that will duplicate that. I'll work on the one underneath. So first of all, I'm going to change the fill of that one to yellow. Okay, and then I'll expand it like so. So you click, I'll just zoom in here on the little disclosure triangle just there. Okay, to get down to the things here, I'm going to get rid of that inner glow for the yellow one there. Okay, like so. And I'll click on ellipse because I'm going to expand this out slightly here. I'll make this 209 in both cases. And again, it's sticking with absolute because I'm just modifying that value. That's great. That's done. I'll bring the another one of those down. So I'll duplicate that. Okay, like so. And we'll make this one red. Okay, and change the ellipse here. So this is going to get a little bit larger, so I'm going to go 272 here, 272. I'd written all these down from the first time that I'd done it. I can't see them very clearly from where I am, right? But they are there, so I've got a rough idea of where I'm going. When I built this originally, I just had to play around with it until I got the result I was after. And I know this seems quite long, or will seem quite long just to get started with, but it is a bit of a process, but once you learn it, you'll get much faster at doing these things. So I've got that. Okay, I'm going to duplicate the yellow fill. Okay, that's above that. Quickest way for me to do that is perhaps drag that down onto the new icon and then just drag that to the bottom of the stack. Again, change the ellipse here. So 283 is what I'm dialing in just there. You can see how this is starting to build out already. Okay, and I'm going to add yet another fill. So let's practice that shortcut again for the fill. So holding down the command key, control on Windows, hit the slash key. Okay, and there you go, brand new fill, like so. Now it's on top here, and you can see how the pen tool icon has changed color. Totally cool with that. Okay, and then I could change that. Something else I could do, you know what? Let's do this a slightly different way. I'm just going to delete that fill just there. I'm going to go to the red fill that's here. Okay, I'm going to duplicate it and then drag that duplicate down to the bottom of the stack. So you can see that it's going red, yellow, red, yellow, red. This time, I'm going to change it from being an ellipse. So I'll click on ellipse, but at the top I've got a drop down. I'll choose rounded rectangle here, and you can see how that's changed like so. Now again, I'm going to use absolute coordinates here, as I will do throughout the whole thing. Okay, and so I'll just go 385 here for the width and 547, something like that for the height. Might have been 548 actually, and 17 on the corner radius there, like so. Perfect, look at that. So it's starting to look like a card, just a bit more now already. Okay, and this is just one thing. Remember, if I went into outline mode, there's just the one thing that it is. This is what it actually looks like, and this is the real power of Illustrator that you don't get with other products, right? It's just, this is an amazing thing because you could do this programmatically eventually, which is really good news. So I'm going to change the fill here. Now I've got a pattern that I made, which I'm just going to apply here. Made this in Illustrator, okay, but I'm going to use that, but I don't want it to be that orange. So I'm going to change the opacity, and I'm going to make it multiply. So that's this particular fill, okay, that's going to multiply here, okay, like so. And you'll see the benefit of that in just a moment. I'll collapse that fill, okay, and I'm going to drag that down onto the new icon. So I've now got two of those. You can see how that gets darker. But what I'm going to do here, okay, is make the bottom one red. So this one, the pattern is multiplying onto that one. Now I don't need that multiply blend mode here, so I'll just reset that back to the default like so. I need to make the appearance panel deeper because it's going on quite a bit. Okay, so let's close that one up. Now I'm going to drag that fill down again to create another duplicate of that and start working on that one. See that how I did that, okay, when I duplicated it, it created one on top. Because it's identical, I just start working on the one underneath. Really simple. Okay, let me zoom back out. Okay, and we'll carry on from there. So I'm going to change the fill of this one to yellow, and now I'm going to mess around with the rounded rectangle effect just here. So we'll make this one a little bit larger. Let's dial this up. I'm going to hold down the shift key and hit my up arrow to take that up by 10. So 390. Let's go to 400, perhaps a bit much. Bring that down. 396 is pretty good, I think, and I'll take this one to, let's go to 560. It's funny the way this works because that actually kind of looks even. Let me just take that up. I'm going to take that to 398 and then just stand on the arrow key, my way of saying keep tapping on it, okay, until that radius looks about right. Now you could actually calculate this so that it was perfect. I'm not going to, I'm just going to eyeball it for this. I'll hit OK. So that's done. Now I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to create another duplicate of this fill. Okay. And I'm going to change the color here to this dark blue. And once more, I'm going to tune the rounded rectangle here. So I'll bring this one up to, let's go to 450. This needs to be quite wide. Bit more than that, I think 454, and we'll change the height there as well. Let's go all the way out to 620. I want it to be slightly taller than it is wide. And the corner radius, here's the great thing with newer versions of Illustrator is that I can just hover over that. If I just zoom in a bit, so I'm just hovering over this. I've got the Apple Magic Mouse here, but a mouse with a scroll wheel would work. But I can just scroll up and down like that until I get a radius that I'm happy with. So I'm just going to push that up a bit further. Whoa, it's getting there. Let's go with 42. Ideal. Okay, so that's done there. So that's that fill. Look how this is going now on here. So I'm going to duplicate that one again there. Okay, I know it seems long. Stick with it. It is worth the effort. Because you imagine if you were building this with loads and loads of different shapes, the things you'd have to edit. Here, you come into one panel and change them, and that's it. You're done. So I'll change this one to yellow. Okay, I'll expand that and just go to the rounded rectangle options just there, and I'll change this. I'm going to dial that up by 10 there, and I'll dial that up by 12 just there. Remember, I'm going for something smaller in width than I am in height. I might model that a little bit in just a second. Let's just dial up the corner radius and just see how that looks. Do you know what? I need to actually make that a bit wider. So I'm just going to push that out like so. That looks good. And let's just change that corner radius just there. I think that's about right. Brilliant thing is, if I decided that there was something wrong with any aspect of that, all I need to do is to click on that and go into there and change it. Yeah. In fact, I'm happier with the height being a little bit bigger, and I'm actually going to push up that radius a bit more as well. And I could do that as many times as are necessary. Okay, so the basic structure of the card is built. Let's add a bit of finesse to that. So I'm going to go up to the top of the stack. I'm going to add a new stroke. Now, again, I could click down here at the bottom of the panel just there. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to hold down Alt or Option and Command or Control if you're on Windows, and then hit slash, and that's it. Adds you a new stroke like so. So I'm going to change a few things about this. Let's go to the stroke panel just there by accessing it via the hyperlink. I'm going to change this to about 9 points. I'm going to put a round end cap on it, okay, like so. And I'm just going to set it back to aligning normally to the center of the actual vectors. Let's choose a dashed line here. I want no dash whatsoever, so 0, value of 0 just there, but the gap I'm going to put in 16 just there, like so. Clever trick, you see, because the dash has no gap at all, or no line at all. It just draws two end caps, which means I get dots on here. So I now want to apply the rounded rectangle effect to that. Now what I could do, because I've got this fill expanded down here, is I could target that, hold down the Alt or Option key and drag that on to that attribute, and bang, that changes straight away. And all I need to do, okay, is just model that down just a little bit. Okay, so I'll just change this. In fact, I'm just going to pull it down by eye. So I'm going to go for the width there, like so, trying to get that in the middle, and I'll tab through and just bring that in like that. So it's more or less in the middle. Of course, the radius here needs to change somewhat. So I'm just modeling that again, just by eye, really easy. Bang, done. I want a copy of that because that's really good, and I'm going to use it for the final bit here. Okay, so I've just brought that up. So now I've got two of those. I'm going to click on rounded rectangle, and I'm going to change this to an ellipse like that. Then I'm going to bring that down. Let's start that at 250 in both directions. Whoa, not far off. Just dial that down a little bit in width. 242. So it's going to have to be the same on the other side. 242. There we go. The card is drawn. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, we've got everything there that we now need. So I'm going to zoom out to see the whole document, Command 0. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is apply a transform effect to the whole thing. Now this is where you've got to be a little bit careful, because at the moment, remember, this stroke is targeted. So I need to click at the top of the appearance panel to make sure I target the whole thing. And any effects for that will appear down here underneath all of the attribute level effects. That's what these things are called. They're different attributes of the shape, and when you've got effects applied to them, they become attribute level effects. Okay, so now I've got that targeted, I'm going to go to Effect, Distort and Transform, and then Transform. I'm going to do some fairly simple stuff here. I've drawn this way too big, so I'm going to dial in a value of 50 in both axes there, like so. Let's turn on preview here so you can see how that's working. I'm going to rotate that around just a little bit. So let's go about, I don't know, 25 degrees, something like that, whatever. I think in my original, I think I went all the way around to 40. Actually, do you know what? I kind of like that. I'm going to set the registration point as well down to the middle left here, right? So I want it to work around that left-hand side. Now that may or may not be important to you, but it's going to change what this does in just a moment. So I'll hit OK, like so. Let's bring that down. There's still just one thing. Just going to hold down Command or Control and tap Y, just so you go into outline mode. That's the only thing that's drawn there. Okay, if I just tap Y again with those keys still held down, okay, or that key still held down, you can see the combined power of this effect. And I'm going to go to the Effect menu and come down and choose Transform again from the recent options just there. I'll get the warning that says this is going to apply a new instance of that effect. That is exactly what I wanted it to do. Okay, and I'm going to set this back to 100. I don't want it to scale. Let me come down here and turn on preview so you can see what's happening. Okay, and I'm going to set the transformation point to the bottom left. That way it will fan away from the bottom left. okay, like so. So if I click on that point just there, okay, let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see that. Okay, there you go, just that small point there. Right, great stuff. So now what I want to do is specify some rotation. Now I don't want it to be 40 degrees here. I'm going to start off with about 9 or 10. In fact, I've gone for 8 just there, and I'm going to start to introduce some copies. Okay, in fact, I want 10 copies, and you can see there they are fanning out that way, but I want them to go this way and upwards. So here's the thing. If you're going across in the X direction, then that's going to be a positive value. And this is where that scrolling behavior comes in so useful. There, like so. There you go. So that's scrolling that across like so. And because the top left-hand corner is the 0 point, that means bigger numbers in the y-axis cause it to go down the page, smaller numbers cause it to go up the page. Now this is already quite a way down the page. Okay, so I'm just going to dial that back up a way like so. In fact, do you know what? I might, in a minute, I'm going to set that rotation to be a negative value. Let me just bring that around. So I've just gone -8 there and come back up to this field. Can you see the change that suddenly had on there? Right, just changing that rotation value around. Perfect. Okay, so let's just dial in the horizontal move just there. If I move the transform effect out of the way, so you can see that working nicely. Just bringing this down. It's kind of therapeutic watching that going up and down. There we are. Okay, perfect. I'm totally happy with that. So I hit OK. Last final touch I'd like to do on here is to add a drop shadow effect. Why not? Right, I'm trying to present some things in the real world, so I'm just going to add a drop shadow. Let's turn on a preview here. And drop the opacity down for that. 75 is a bit harsh. 58 just there. 7 and 7. Maybe just increase the blur just a shade. There. Okay, I've gone for 10 points. And there we are, done. Now here's the thing, right? If you were doing something like this, let's just say you were working on something and you wanted to represent a different series of icons like this, you wouldn't have to do this every single time. What you could do in this document, okay, is add it as a graphic style. And the way I'm going to do that, this is selected. You could drag it in to the panel, okay, but I'm just going to click on the new graphic style option there. If I undo that actually and hold down Alt or Option when I do it, I get the chance to name it. So I'll just call it Card Fan here, like so. You can always name it afterwards, it doesn't really matter. There. So what I'm going to do is draw another thing just in a similar size to that pen tool. So if I just start off with a rectangle here, just bring that around, rotate that through 90 degrees. I'm going to select these side points here, tap S to get the scale tool, drag those in. So I've got like a diamond there, like so. See what I did with that? Okay. So I'm going to get that selected, click on the card fan, and there you go. In, bang, that quick. Yeah, you've got a fan of cards. And that's it. We are done for now. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Reach out to me via Twitter or my Facebook page or on here in the comments. Please let me know if you liked the video. Do spread the word. But until next time, see ya.